What's up, everybody, and welcome in to another edition of the Sit Down. As always, if you enjoy this video, please be sure you hit that like button and let me know what you think of today's discussion in the comment section below. If you're new around here, you just haven't done it yet, or living on a rocket seeing this video for the first time, I don't know what you're waiting for. Hit that subscribe button below now so you never miss another sit down video. What's up, everybody, and welcome in. Today we're going to delve into a recent video posted by everybody's favorite former mob informant, Gene Borrello. Now, I thought this video would get a little bit more press here in the genre. However, it hasn't. So what we'll do is we'll talk about it, and I want your opinion. I'm going to need your comments in the comment section below. But what do you think about this little stunt by Gene Borrello recently? I'm going to pull up a video from Gene's TikTok account where he issues a warning to members of the Gotti family, and you've got to hear this, and then we'll talk about it.
Basically, probably going to be sometime April and May. And if I do win that fight, if I do win it, which I think I'm gonna, honestly, I really think I'm gonna be training with professional boxers, and a lot of people reaching out to me and want to train me for real. And I'm going to go into deep training. And if I win that fight, I'm going to call out John Gotti the third. And it would be great because I grew up in, we grew up in the same area. I know his whole family. I don't like them. They don't like me. And I think it would draw a nice crowd. And, he's a good fighter, but he's a UFC fighter. I've seen his boxing. It sucks. He's a UFC fighter. His boxing's not good. I've been watching so much of his boxing. And, I knock a lot of people out with my right arm. So I'm not really worried about it. It's a fight. What's the worst case? I lose. I don't give a fuck. I've been in a million fist fights. Do I care? No. I had a bullet shot at me. Worse things than going to a fucking ring with somebody. I'm not worried about it. So if I do win this fight coming up in April or May, I will be calling out John Gotti III. That's 100%. Whether he accepts or not, that's what it's going to be. My social media presence is getting huge on Instagram, YouTube, everywhere. So I think it's time that we do this. So this is what the people want. City of Philadelphia, you think I'm going to lose? Absolutely not. We will see. All right? That's all I got to say. See you all soon. Go fuck yourselves.
So obviously a very seething Borrello, who I want to set the stage of what he's talking about. From what I understand, I guess somebody in Philadelphia challenged him or setting him up for a fight in April at some point. But the main kind of thing we took from that is Gene is actively calling out John Gotti III. Obviously, we know John Gotti III. He is the son of John Gotti Jr., the grandson of John Gotti Sr. We know him from obviously the fact that he is a well-to-do fighter, pretty successful guy, fought at MMA levels. And then we know him from fighting Floyd Mayweather Jr. not once, but twice. The fight recently happened over the last couple of months for the second time. And, we have to give Gotti III credit. He did a pretty good job in both fights. He put on for himself and for his family, and he's definitely led the right life as far as, becoming a regular guy and having a successful boxing and fighting career. A couple of things here. I want to first discuss Gene butting off maybe a little bit more than he could chew in this one. Look, we've all heard that at maybe some point Gene Borrello was an accomplished street fighter. We've never seen him fight. We could guess he probably is a decent street fighter. We do also know, though, that street fighting and fighting in a ring is significantly different. And I will point this out. Let's say this fight did happen. John Gotti III would be a massive favorite due to the fact that he's just been in a ring before. When you fight in a ring, it is so much different than fighting in the street or in a gym or something like that. Like in a ring, a sanctioned fight, which is what this would be, even if it's in the exhibition. But it opens up an interesting discussion. We've heard over the last several years here on MobTube and Mafia YouTube of, commenters wanting to fight each other, all the way up to, personalities on here wanting to fight each other. We've heard it mentioned by Dominic Cicale. We've heard it mentioned by all sorts of people. What would it actually look like? And here's what I will say, and I'm curious of your thoughts in the comments. This fight would be fascinating. Now, it would be one-sided, but we know there's one thing Gene Borrello does a good job of. He is definitely a and I mean this in the nicest way. He's a cacchiarone, right? He's a guy who likes to talk. He's very dramatic. He can sell a fight. I mean, he would be your poster child for selling a fight. Whether it works out and he proves what he's talking about, we won't know. That said, Gene would do a great job of selling this fight. And you look at on the other side, you have a guy in John Gotti III who is a very reserved kid, but I think if he had to, he would speak. He did it with Floyd. And I think the genuine thing we saw with the Floyd fight is you could tell that John Gotti III looked up to Floyd. They had ultimately a respect for each other. There were times where they probably got annoyed and pissed off at each other, but you could tell that, and a lot of young fighters, they're enamored by Floyd Mayweather. And I think John Gotti III, I think there's one thing we know about the Gotti family. There is no love lost between the Gotti family and mob informants, most notably Gene Borrello. I think outside of Gene, the guy they may even hate as much as him would be John Alite, I guess. But I mean, could you imagine the back and forth between Gene and John Gotti III? And John Gotti III could do it for the honor of his family. We have to remember that Gene Borrello put John Gotti III's cousin, also named John Gotti, in prison. I mean, Gene's testimony led to Peter Gotti's son going to prison for more than 6 or 7 years. We also know that Angel Gotti, John Gotti's daughter and John Gotti Jr.'s sister, sued Gene Borrello over the last couple of years. We remember that New York Post article where she sues Gene for $10 million, alleging that, Gene allegedly unleashed a, quote, torrent of heinous online abuse against her and her son, a person, Frank. She would say that he had a, quote, sick obsession with the crime family, not only her father, but everybody in it. Now, reportedly, Borrello created a pair of Instagram accounts insultingly called Angel Gotti, the Fat Slob, and Angel Gotti, the Fat Whale Gotti, and used them to bombard her with nasty messages. Now, it's also been said that Gene was accused of putting faked photos on the internet of Angel Gotti's son, Frank Albano, and her deceased former husband, Louis Albano, doing drugs, which the Gottis claim in the litigation. Now, we don't really know of what ever happened with this. I want to believe, and I think this was thrown out. Now, in a deleted rant, Borrello would follow up with the lawsuit, calling Angel Gotti, quote, a fucking rat, adding the whole family is rats, bona fide rats, and claiming Gotti was urging people to report him to the FBI and his parole officer, which, from what I understand down the road, Angel Gotti claimed never happened. That said, there is obviously a major history here. Could you imagine? I mean, look, I want to make this clear. I think Gene would have major problems in this fight. That said, man, would it be interesting? Man, would it be interesting? I mean, we all know John Gotti Jr. I mean, he's definitely a smart guy. I mean, he's got his son 2 big money fights with, Floyd Mayweather. This would be, I think, pretty popular. I think in the New York area, especially. I mean, even in this community, in the New York, Philadelphia, like Rhode Island, Massachusetts, I think this would be a fucking winner. Now, look, is it going to be at Madison Square Garden? No, but I mean, you could see this at like, I don't know, one of these like regional arenas, like in the Long Island area or something. I mean, man, would this be interesting? And I would love to see it happen. I'm begging John Gotti Jr. Come on, bro, make this happen. I mean, this will give all of us on here, this should give us something to talk about for a while. What do you guys think? Could this actually happen? Could we see Gene Borrello in a ring with John Gotti III? What would be the line in this fight? Now, I am a quasi odds man. I would list John Gotti as, if I was making the line, minus 1,000 probably. I mean, the implied probability would be insanely high. It may even be higher than that. I think when you look at it, you have to say, like, what are the chances that Gene could actually win? And whenever you're looking at odds, you have to say, okay, what's the implied probability? So what's the implied probability that Gene wins? Probably 5%, maybe 10%. I mean, you may even list, John Gotti the third as like a minus 2,000 favorite. Like that's probably where I'd put it. Now it's not to say that Gene can't fight. We know he definitely was a tough guy probably at one point. He definitely did some bad shit, but there is a lot of reason for John Gotti the third to shut this kid up. And man, would it be interesting. Wow. And we know, like, the one thing we can say about Gene, regardless of your opinion on him, we know I've had my issues with Gene. A lot of people have had their issues with Gene. But the one thing Gene will do is he's not going to like whine that it's called the rat versus someone else. Like, Gene will be a good sport on that, but Gene's going to say things. Wow. I'm thinking about this now, and I'm thinking like, wow. I mean, could you imagine? But what do you think? Could this actually happen? Let me know in the comment section below. Did Gene butt off more than he could chew? And would you go to this if you could? Would you watch it if you could? We need to get this. We need to think about this a little bit. Now, we can't do it on Rough and Rowdy because Rough and Rowdy doesn't allow pro fighters, and John Gotti III is a pro fighter. In fact, I don't even know legality if this could happen. Like, can a pro fighter fight? I guess they could fight an amateur, right? I mean, yeah, of course they can. But yeah, we'll see. Stay tuned.